25 drivers, 16 nationalities, 3 champions, 1 champ. Road to Indy TV.
And we will fire up all of these engines in the Indy Lights program. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to do that. The Cooper Tires here down on pit lane to give the command.
On behalf of everyone at Cooper Tires, drivers, start your engines.
And with that, engines come to life down here on pit lane. 8 drivers and Indy Lights getting set to go. It's going to be a great one, ladies and gentlemen. Grab your seats, and we'll send it back right now to Todd Lewis.
Thank you, Rob Howden. The Indy Lights cars come to life along pit lane. As we have seen, it is a tight championship battle between Rinus VeeKay and Oliver Askew this weekend. Rinus VeeKay has been putting the pressure on Oliver Askew. Is it his championship to lose? Perhaps. But Rinus VeeKay has been doing his part in putting the pressure on Oliver Askew. Perfect weekend so far. Starting on pole for both races. He led from wire to wire in Saturday's race. Rinus VeeKay looking to do the same thing again today and continue to put the pressure on as they head to the final 2 events in a couple of weeks' time. Toby Sowery, David Malukas will line up alongside on row number 2. Ryan Norman, Dalton Kellett in row number 4. Robert McGinnis and Lucas Cole round out the field for the Indy Lights cars.
For Rinus VeeKay, but VeeKay is going to have to be absolutely perfect over these final 3 races. He was awful strong yesterday, grabbing his 4th pole position on Friday, scoring his 4th race win yesterday afternoon. So it's going to be fantastic to see this championship battle wind down with just 3 races to go. Again, this is a 12-turn, 1.9-mile road course. It is one of the smaller road courses that we visit. It is awful tough to pass, but as we've seen throughout the course of this weekend, turn 1 has provided some fantastic opportunities as drivers can use the draft, make their way down to turn number 1, and get alongside their opponents. Also down that back straightaway, heading down to turn number 9. Really, really fast portions of this racetrack. It's going to be tremendous to see these drivers battle it out here with just 2 races remaining after today. Here's your starting lineup once again. It's Rinus VeeKay, who has sits 2nd in points. He starts on the pole. He will control the start. Did a great job yesterday of leading the field down to turn 1, and then really was never challenged. The points leader, Oliver Askew, starts to his outside. Toby Sowery and David Malukas, the teammates, will start in row number 3. Both of those drivers looking for their first wins this season and of their careers. We'll see what they can do from the 2nd row. Ryan Norman and Dalton Kellett will share row number 3. Lucas Cole and Robert McGinnis will start together in row number 4. Rob Howden has made his way to the broadcast booth after pre-race festivities. Rob, 3 races to go. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty here of this championship.
Oh, and that's it. Down there talking to so many people, it's all about the calculations, right? What can happen? How many points does Oliver Askew need to clinch? It's right around approximately, unofficially, 39 points, but then he'd still have to start both races at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. You never know what's going to happen, so really he needs to leave here with a 65-point lead to outright clinch it. That's not going to happen. Obviously, we've had a great run so far for Rinus VeeKay. Rinus just doing everything he can. The championship, of course, essentially out of his grasp, but what he's doing right now is really making an impression if he can sweep this weekend.
1 to go, Michael Young, as the field's in front of you, trying to get some heat in those Cooper tires here in Portland.
On a car length behind the pace car is Rinus VeeKay, our pole sitter. Oliver Askew lighting him up right behind him. Accelerating, braking, exiting turn number 6. Toby Sowery, then David Malukas. Ryan Norman, Dalton Kellett, then bringing up the rear of the field, Lucas Cole and Robert McGinnis. Expecting a big day from Robert McGinnis after poor qualifying yesterday. But Dave, the field looks good coming to you out of turn 7.
Yeah, single file coming out of turn 7. The idea here is to put as much heat into these Cooper tires as they can. So Rinus VeeKay, a little brake check, then slams on the gas to spin out those tires a little bit and see if they can't raise those tire temperatures. Got to be primo temperature for these cars and these tires to be do exactly what they need to do as we get this last race of this weekend here in Indy Lights underway here in Portland.
Yeah, it's a nice early morning here for us in Portland. If you're on the East Coast, the Midwest, thank you so much for joining us, possibly for lunch, as we are all getting geared up for the Portland Grand Prix for the NTT IndyCar Series a little bit later today on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. Coverage coming to you noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. But these are the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. So many graduates have gone on to success, and it's going to be fun to watch these drivers battle for 35 laps. Out of the final corner, the front two in points on the front row. It's VK and Askew. The alignment looks good as those 8 cars are stacked up in those 4 rows of 2. We wait to see the green flag. It is waved from the starters, and they'll start to fan out down the front straightaway. Rinus VK uses the middle of the racetrack. Oliver Askew locks him up, but Toby Sowery's going to be the big winner, and Askew is spun. Oliver Askew is spun in turn 2. The front wing of that race car is ripped off as he'll have to do a 180 to rejoin the action, but up front, Michael Young, they're side by side for the lead.
Toby Sowery to the inside, Rinus VK to the outside. Rinus overpowers Toby Sowery at the exit of turn number 5. A car length ahead is Rinus VK as we've got a full course caution. Melee on the first turn. Rinus VK with a fantastic battle with Toby Sowery, and again under caution here at Portland.
Oliver Askew was not the only driver involved as David Malukas has heavy left front suspension damage. Rob, we're seeing the replay. They got 3 wide for about 4th. Askew checked up to try to fall in line in 3rd, and it seemed like the Hornet's Nest kind of swallowed him up there.
I think for Malukas, it was a simple fact that he was trying to get into the middle of that corner. You could see Ryan Norman coming through. Malukas moved from his left to his right to avoid Norman. I think he got right into the back of Oliver Askew. It's some pretty serious damage to the left front. We're getting another good view of it here. Yeah, Askew, he locked the brakes up going a little bit, and he had to change his correction, a little course correction for him to try to get back inside the curbing, and really nowhere to go for David Malukas, to be honest, because Askew just had to recorrect having locked those brakes up into the braking zone.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple drivers that I think you can throw blame to, because Askew, he clearly missed the corner and swung wide, locked up the tires. Malukas was really, I'm not sure he could get that car to turn in through turn number 1 because he was bottlenecked up kind of 3 wide. And as you mentioned, as Askew kind of tugged that steering wheel to the right to correct it, there was David Malukas. And as a result, we've got some damaged race cars. Dan Ruzanowski, you can see our points leader. The absolute last thing he wanted to happen, he sits on pit lane.
That he does, and he's got damage on the right side of the fuselage, and they're taking off the front wing, replacing that. He's shut the engine down, doing a full shift of tires as well. Oliver Askew just implacably sitting inside that cockpit. Nothing he can do about it, but obviously there's a lot on his mind as he's getting ready to head out. And it's been a pretty slow type of a stop here so far. In fact, they seem to be taking their time, but here we go with a full tire change started, and in fact they're going to take a look at underneath the car to see if it's all right. But in the meantime, front nose looks like it's been replaced, and we've got other cars going to be coming in, I'd imagine, after this.
I can sense the sense of urgency, though, down there, Rob. I imagine first thing the team wants to do is just figure out, okay, what's broken on that race car.
And they know how much time they have around this racetrack. It's almost 2 miles in length. They have time to get it done. When you start rushing, you start making mistakes. They have enough time. There are 3 guys going to work on the car. They'll get the tire changed. I just found it really interesting that Askew would have locked it up like he did coming into that turn number 1 because, Rinus had a good jump, went to the inside. Toby Sowery was looking there as well. But again, for Rinus to lock it up like that, Oliver, that's just not something you normally see him do.
Let's go back to pit lane and Dan Ruzanowski.
They took a look underneath the car, and Doug Zister, the strategist and race engineer, gave Oliver Askew the go-ahead to light it up, and he did, and he is back on the circuit. But obviously a lengthy pit stop for Oliver Askew.
Good news, and most importantly, Robbie stays on the lead lap, so he's going to jump to the tail of this field, which is now going to be in 7th. As David Malukas' car is on the hook, it'll be taken back to the paddock after this race, and Malukas, I'm sure, will be taken to the HMD Motorsports, I should say, pit lane, and I'm sure Dan will have a chance to talk to him momentarily. So here's how they run. Under caution, Rinus VK is your leader. Toby Sowery with a great jump got to 2nd through the festival curves and very nearly took the lead. Ryan Norman runs in 3rd. Lucas Cole is 4th. Robert McGinnis 5th. Dalton Kellett is 6th. Oliver Askew is 7th, and David Malukas out of the race in 8th.
Yeah, and with the retirement of Malukas, of course, Askew now running in the 7th position. So, like you said, able to restart. He's going to be able to go back to work again. So really not as bad as we thought. The damage, of course, much more extensive to the car of Malukas, severely damaged left front suspension pieces, the wishbone, the toe link completely crushed in on that car. Again, just this corner, the Shelton chicane, it happens, man. It's just, you're never sure. You stay to the inside, you move to the outside. I think Malukas was probably in a pretty good spot. It was just the fact that Askew had to make that move around the corner to get back over to the curb. That was just the key.
It's very rare over the years that you see a turn one accident that you can say, yeah, that guy screwed up. It's clearly his fault, because it is. It's just a part of the racetrack. That's why we love it, because it's really tough for these drivers to navigate. And boy, is it a curveball thrown towards these teams. But certainly, you know, it's caused a lot of damaged race cars over the years. Michael Young, you said you saw Oliver Askew. In fact, we see him now. Yeah, he just caught up to the tail end of the field. So the nice thing, Rob Howden, is Oliver got a chance to catch up to that field at speed, so probably gets a good feel of how that race car feels.
Very true, and the simple fact right now, at the tail of the field to the restart, there's a good possibility he could end up working his way back onto the podium, because that car has been that good throughout this weekend. Oliver's going to have the red mist now. He's going to be ready to go to work, and although he's not going to have a chance to challenge Rinus VeeKay.
Green flag is back out, and we are racing once again here at Portland. Toby Sowery got a great jump out of the final corner. He's going to jump to the inside, looking for the lead to the inside of Rinus VeeKay. They make their way to the right-hander of turn number 1, and Sowery will clear him. New race leader, it's Toby Sowery in that bright yellow car, Michael, as he gaps Rinus VeeKay by a couple car lengths.
HMD Motorsports, the new name of that team. Toby Sowery checks up a little early, entering turn number 4, the right-hander. Another turn 5 right-hander, as, boy, nice lap for Toby Sowery. He's checked out about 3 car lengths. On the charge now is Ryan Norman. He's wanting that second position away from Rinus VeeKay. But Dave first, Toby Sowery with a 5 car length advantage.
It's an unfamiliar position for Toby Sowery. Has yet to lead a lap here in 2019. He's got about a 6 or 7 car length advantage over Rinus VeeKay. Another 2 back to Ryan Norman. Another 6 back to Robert McGinnis.
The charge for Oliver Askew is already underway, as he just grabbed the 6th position from Dalton Kellett. But Rob, what a rocket restart for Toby Sowery.
It's one of the things in this Indy Lights program, it's almost tough to start as the leader on a restart, because the guy behind is going to punch off. He gets that big run down the straightaway to be able to use the draft, and that's exactly what Toby Sowery did, tucked to the inside to make the move. And now Ryan Norman's trying to go to work on VeeKay as well.
Yeah, Rinus VeeKay has his hands full as Ryan Norman jumps to the inside. He's not close enough to make the pass. He'll jump right back in line as they make their way through turns 1, 2, and 3. Toby Sowery, the leader. A nice gap, Michael, as they head to 4.
Yeah, and for Rinus VeeKay, he might have to hit that overtake button and try to catch back up to Toby Sowery. Ryan Norman is right there in that 3rd position, so it's Rinus VeeKay in 2nd, Ryan Norman 3rd, but Toby Sowery, a little bit of understeer as he exits turn number 6, 10 car length advantage over Rinus VeeKay.
Oh, Toby Sowery has checked out, making about 7 or 8 car lengths now, as Rinus VeeKay's got to deal with Ryan Norman. Separation there, about 3 or 4 car lengths. Meanwhile, Oliver Askew content to stay in front of Dalton Kellett. He remains behind Lucas Cole.
Dan Ruzanowski, I imagine there's got to be a lot of happy faces down there in that HMD Motorsport pit.
Absolutely. Jeff Fickling, your thoughts, obviously, on the goings-on so far in this race?
Yeah, it's 2 parts. Shame for David. He was going to have a good race, too, starting on the 2nd row. But, yeah, this is what we need. We started on new tires. The rest of the field wasn't. So the first part of the race is our time to open up a gap. What we're trying to do right now is open up a gap to where push to pass is not available for P2.
Kind of sounds like the strategy that Juncos had during the qualifying when they had fresh tires in race 1, and then Rinus was able to hold off and have that lead with no push to pass.
Yeah, we had the same tire strategy this weekend. They just used their new tires yesterday, and we saved ours for today. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Hope David's okay.
All right. Yeah, he's okay. Thank you.
All right, that is Jeff Fickling inside the pits. A little bit of feast or famine so far for this team.
Jeff Fickling's been around this sport for a long time. That's a great guy to help guide that organization.
Yeah, no doubt about that, especially a team that's trying to restructure. You get all that experience that he had. He was with Carlin when they first brought the new Dallara IL-15 in. He's had a lot of time, moved with Carlin, of course, up to the IndyCar program, has since come back, got hired by HMD, and they're restructuring alongside John Comiskey with the cars now at his shop in Brownsburg, Indiana. That's a great operation for sure, but they're still kind of coming together. Oliver Askew getting a good run here as well, going to work on Lucas Cole, Nick, as they work their way down here into the front straight. That'll be for P5.
Yep, trying to grab that 5th position as they'll go wheel to wheel. They'll both light him up into the corner. Lucas Cole had the outside line. He's going to have to take the runoff area. He's going to lose not only the 5th position, but the 6th spot to Dalton Kellett. As Michael, all of a sudden, Oliver Askew starting to make some noise.
Yeah, he's not only making some noise, he's catching his teammate Robert McGinnis. He's really closed that gap. Now in the midpoint of turn number 6, Robert McGinnis exits, got a handful of that race car, and it looks like Oliver Askew will close into about 15 car lengths.
Single file again. It's Toby Sowery with about a 10-car length advantage over Rinus VeeKay. Oliver Askew lost a little ground in that pursuit for position number 4. He's still 7 back to Robert McGinnis.
You can feel the sense of urgency for Oliver Askew with that move. I mean, that was a light charge. Both of those drivers not willing to give up that spot.
Well, one of the things is you always say you can chase someone, you can reel them in, but passing them is a different thing. But a driver like Oliver, and you try to get any of the young drivers to do this, you have that extra speed. You know you're a half a second faster a lap. Don't slow down to the pace of the person in front of you. When you get there, attack and attack immediately, and that's what Oliver did. Did not wait at all. Even though he had to lock the brake up a little bit going to the inside for turn 1, he was able to get the job done.
So we work lap number 7 of 35 here at Portland International Raceway. Toby Sowery, after the restart, has jumped out to a 1.8-second lead over Rinus VeeKay. Ryan Norman runs in 3rd. He's being tracked by Robert McGinnis, who's just about 0.7 of a second back. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4th remains pretty tight. Then you've got our points leader, Oliver Askew, who just moved up into the 5th position. If you're just joining us, he got caught up in a lap 1 accident down in turn number 1, where he got tagged by David Malukas. Malukas is out of the race. He is okay. He will finish 8th today, but now we're watching Askew try to claw his way back to the front. And, Rob, we're also watching these drivers right ahead of him. That could be the best news for Oliver Askew if those 3 drivers, VeeKay, Norman, and McGinnis, start to slug it out.
What I think is really interesting here, Nick, is the simple fact that it's another day. The great thing about all these Indy Lights teams, there's so much experience and knowledge within these paddocks. They'll sit down and figure out what to do to be faster for the next day. It's been Juncos Racing from the get-go. They qualified on pole with Rinus VeeKay both days. He wins yesterday, but everybody's found a little bit more. Obviously, HMD had those fresh tires in the back. That was the call for them. They were holding on to race number 2. I like that call. I was surprised, actually, that VeeKay went for his fresh tires on the opening race, but I assume that he just wanted to get that first win done and in the books. But the Andretti Autosport guys have stepped things up as well. You can see Norman, as you said, going after VeeKay.
Yeah, certainly McGinnis going after Norman, too. He closed really tightly out of turn number 7, got to within about 3 or 4 car lengths as they make their way down that long back straightaway. For Askew, after lighting him up, trying to get around Lucas Cole, he certainly has to regather himself because he's got a bit of a gap to catch those 3 drivers.
What I'm watching, too, is them burning through these push-to-passes already. Ryan Norman already halfway through his. He only has 7 more activations. McGinnis has 6 more activations. They're both, Norman's within the activation window for VeeKay. McGinnis doing the same thing on Norman. And again, Norman closes right back up here on Rinus VeeKay.
Yeah, Ryan Norman's going to take a look to the inside. Now he'll jump to the outside. Nearly got alongside. Has to jump back in line. But as they exit turn 3, we've got a fantastic battle for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Indeed, that battle for 3rd is the key battle as Rinus VeeKay checks out about 4 car lengths over Ryan Norman as McGinnis settles back in. So VeeKay able to gap himself again from Ryan Norman. McGinnis is there. That allows Oliver Askew to close that gap ever so slightly. What was once 15 car lengths is down to about 10. It is Rinus VeeKay, Ryan Norman, and then Robert McGinnis out of 7.
Toby Sowery doesn't mind watching all this play out in his rearview mirror as they slug it out for 2nd. VeeKay, Norman, McGinnis. Oliver Askew made up a little bit more ground, Michael. You're absolutely right in his pursuit for 4th.
As they make their way down the back straightaway, those 3 drivers separated by just a couple car lengths. Such a fast portion of the racetrack. Robert McGinnis is all over the rear wing of his Andretti Autosport teammate Ryan Norman. They come out of turn at number 12, back out of the front straightaway. Will any of these drivers choose to use their push to pass? McGinnis and Norman have absolutely been hammering that button as the leader locks them up down into turn number 1, Toby Sowery, but they'll stay single file for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th as they exit turn 3.
That's how hard Toby Sowery is pushing that car. Indeed, Nick Yeoman, I could see it from my vantage point. Locked him up for that HMD Motorsports machine, clean through turn number 5. Then it's Rinus VeeKay, 3 car lengths back to Ryan Norman, and then Robert McGinnis back in, stepping out ever so slightly. But Dave, first, keep your eye on Oliver Askew. He's on a charge.
It's almost as if if, old school dirt track racing, inverting the field. The points leader right now, trying to make up a little ground. Still about 10 car lengths or so behind his teammate, Robert McGinnis.
Rob, put your engineering hat on. How concerned might you be with that lockup for Toby Sowery in the one?
It wasn't just a little lockup. It was a long lockup.
Yeah.
He held that right front locked up quite a bit going into turn number 1. I wouldn't be surprised if they're on the radio telling Toby to take a deep breath. He's got a 2.5-second lead. Rinus is under pressure from Ryan Norman. You're stretching away. You're 2 to 3 tenths, 4 tenths quicker than VK that last lap. You can back it off a little bit. You do not need to be locking it up like that. But again, once you've locked it up once, so much easier to lock it up again and again and again. And once you start doing that, you get that flat spot. It could start the vibration in the car a little bit. They just need to get Toby to settle down a little here.
Michael, it looked like the leader was a lot smoother through turn 3 that time.
He certainly was, Nick, and he is smooth through turns 5 and turn 6. I'll keep my eye on his hands. Just perfect through the midway point of turn number 6, and then exit off from the center of that turn off. Rinus VK, Ryan Norman. Everybody settling in, but Dave first, keep an eye on that battle for 4th. I think it'll shape up in another lap or two. McGinnis and Oliver Askew is on the charge.
It's getting there, and making about 6 or 7 car lengths. So, yeah, there's no question about it. Our points leader, Oliver Askew's making up a little ground. Toby Sowery, though, continues to lead. Big gap back to 2nd.
And Robbie is within 1.3 seconds now of Robert McGinnis. So now, all of a sudden, Oliver Askew can use that extra horsepower.
Well, and I wonder if he'll bother using it right now. That's the key right now. He's holding on to it. He's got 10 push-to-pass applications still. Both the guys in front of him, his teammates Norman and McGinnis, down to just 4. If he can continue to work his way closer without using those push-to-passes, then potentially he's able to use it if he tries to go back by Rinus VK. A podium finish right now for Oliver Askew, I think, would be a huge recovery from the issue from turn 1.
Yeah, again, the front wing of that car was ripped off, but Michael, he is charging. Looks like it's about 6 or 7 car lengths as they make their way through turn 4.
And the key that Rob said there, teammates ahead of Oliver Askew. It's Rinus VK passing me now, middle off on turn number 6, and Ryan Norman about 5 car lengths back to Robert McGinnis, 5 car lengths back to Oliver Askew. Askew with a great exit out of turn number 6, again closing that gap.
No question he's closing the gap. It's about 5 car lengths, I would say now, as Oliver Askew takes a good look at the back end of Robert McGinnis' machine. It's still Sowery, VK, Norman, McGinnis, Askew, the top 5.
Sowery's lead is stabilized at about 2.4, 2.5 seconds. So to your point, Rob, that's kind of what you want.
Yeah.
Stay in that zone. Just make sure you're running lap times equal to the guys behind you.
And that's it. He gets, every time he comes by the front straightaway, they'll call the gap in between him back to Rinus VK. Interesting thing, Nick, how long, maybe the entire year since he came in at St. Petersburg and was so good there with a couple of podium finishes, we've been just waiting for the win from Toby Sowery. He fought like crazy at Austin, Texas, the Circuit of the Americas. He's that guy we kept saying, you're going to be the next guy to win. You'll be the next guy to win. We've had 6 winners already this year. He would be the 7th different winner here in 2019.
Yeah, I think we assumed it was going to come a lot earlier than it maybe has, or still waiting. But that's not to the detriment of Toby Sowery. I mean, he is a fantastic race car driver. Has had to do a little learning this year, as a lot of these drivers have. Much of this series is made up of rookie drivers in Indy Lights for the very first time. But he is putting it on the field right now here in Portland. Long way to go, though. Still 22 laps to go here at Portland International Raceway. Toby Sowery is your leader. Rinus VK runs in 2nd. Ryan Norman is 3rd. Robert McGinnis 4th. Oliver Askew is 5th. And Askew has closed to within 1 second of his teammate Robert McGinnis. In fact, that only translates to about 3 car lengths as they exit the final corner. That also was at the line the previous time. It's going to be a lot closer this time across the start-finish line. The gap from McGinnis to Askew is now down to a half a second. So, Michael, the rear view, the side view mirrors of Robert McGinnis' car starting to fill up with his teammate out of turn 3.
I've been keeping my eye on Robert McGinnis, and it really looks like he struggles with the handling of that car, especially the midway point of turn number 6. Toby Sowery goes by. There's Rinus VK, Ryan Norman. And here's Robert McGinnis. Car bobbles right behind him. Oliver Askew really stalking his teammate right now. It's down to about 3 car lengths, Dave, first. That's a battle for 4th.
If McGinnis is having issues in 6, he's really having issues at 7. That exit of 7, a little wider than I'm going to guess he would like, and that's allowing, once again, Oliver Askew to pick things up, making a 4 car length advantage now. McGinnis over Askew.
Boy, Rob, he's pressuring him down to turn 9. Going to take a look to the inside. Hard place to pass. Thought better of it there at the last second.
That's putting the pressure on your teammate in a big way, though. Again, he still has 8 push-to-passes. McGinnis only has the 3. McGinnis The problem for McGinnis right now, he's outside the window to Ryan Norman, so he can no longer use his push to pass. Here they go, guys, into turn number 1.
Boy, McGinnis moved to the inside of the racetrack, and I think he let him go because Oliver Askew's a lot faster. McGinnis will follow him through the corner. So move Oliver Askew into the 4th spot as they race out of turn 3.
And for Rinus VK, it looks as if he's closed the gap just about a half a second or so. We'll check it when they came across that line, but Ryan Norman about equidistant back for that 3rd position. Now Oliver Askew, who just took that 4th place position away from Robert McGinnis. Dave's checked out about 4 car lengths.
He has, and let's see now as they make their way turn 7 how Robert McGinnis reacts. And yeah, exactly what I thought after not being pushed by his teammate Oliver Askew. That exit at turn 7, much better for Robert McGinnis. Bad news though, his teammate now leads.
Rob, I thought he let him go, but you saw the telemetry. It looked like that Oliver had the speed.
Yeah, he used a push to pass, I believe, there coming onto the straightaway, was able to pull along the outside. McGinnis obviously moved to the inside, used that defensive line, but Oliver had the pass already done by the time he pointed that car to the apex of turn number 1. Askew now will have to close up to see if he can get close enough to Ryan Norman to start using those push to passes he has left.
Yeah, it may take a few laps because certainly the lap times are going to, they increase a little bit when you're trying to battle with another driver. So we'll see Oliver Askew, Michael, as he sets sail to try to find that 48 car. Another one of his teammates for Andretti Autosport.
Yeah, indeed. So there's Toby Sowry, the leader, Rinus VK with him. But Ryan Norman's kind of lost touch with 2nd place running Rinus VK. Actually, Norman slips a little to the outside of the exit of turn number 6. That allows Oliver Askew to close that gap. But Toby Sowry, Dave's checked out.
No question about that. As has, as you mentioned, Rinus VK, these gaps pretty long and nowhere near as close to these drivers will be able to use their push to pass. So it's Sowry, VK, Norman, Askew, McGinnis heading into turn 9.
Rob, that gap for Toby Sowry was about 2.5 seconds. Then it was 2.3. Now it's down to 1.7 seconds. At what point do you get a little concerned for our race leader?
1.51.
About 2 more tenths?
1.51 when you're almost within that push-to-pass window, because Rinus VK's got 12 push-to-pass applications still sitting there, and he is pounding the curbs coming through 1 and 2. Rinus VK up on the wheel like crazy. It's 1.692 last time by. Yeah, I think that maybe the radio communication from the HMD crew and Jeff Fickling to Toby Sowry might be dial it back up a little bit.
Dave, first, the stopwatch shows that VK is starting to catch Toby Sowry. What's it look like out there on the racetrack?
Well, it's difficult to say because once you hit that exit where Michael is at a turn number 6, they really get on the gas and are able to gap themselves a little bit more. But yeah, you're right though. There's no question about it. Rinus VK catching Toby Sowry. Norman 3rd, Askew 4th, McGinnis still back in 5th.
Askew still about 2.4 seconds as they run right now with VK right in the 2nd position, not capitalizing as much as he needs. Askew's points lead remains strong at 38 markers. It's Sowry, VK, Norman, Askew, McGinnis, the top 5. Dalton Kellett is in 6th. Lucas Cole is 7th. David Malukas out of the race. He'll finish 8th today after contact on the opening lap. We take a look back to the front straightaway. The gap is still at 1.6 seconds. Michael, Rinus VK is so close to being able to use that extra push to horsepower.
Yeah, it's a visible gap that we've seen that close each and every lap that they've done. Toby Sowry, nice exit out of turn number 5. But Rinus VK just letting that car hit each of the gator strips from the inside to the outside, really taking that line. Dave, it looks like VK's keeping that momentum up, albeit about a 15 car length gap, but that translates almost to 1.5 seconds.
You gotta wonder if Toby Sowry used up those tires a little too quickly in this 35 lap feature this morning here at beautiful Portland International Raceway. Everyone else gapped pretty evenly. Second, check that 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Norman, Askew, McGinnis, now at the exit of turn 8.
Rob, if anyone, though, knows how tough it is to pass in the second half of the race, it's Toby Sowry. Let's talk a little bit about that battle that he had with Robert McGinnis yesterday for the final step on the podium.
Indeed, that's it, right? When the tires start to go off, you're pushing as hard as you possibly can. Even though you have push to pass, the car won't do what you want it to do. You're asking a lot of things out of you. You're trying to maximize what you have. It was a fantastic battle, no doubt about it. But again, like you said, this time Sowry out front. I think he learned enough yesterday to potentially manage the tires. David had said, did he push too hard early? They were fresh rubber. Nobody else on fresh rubber. He should be better through the second half unless he did what Dave said and potentially overused him early on.
Yeah, yesterday he just hounded Robert McGinnis for, I want to say, the last 12 to 15 laps trying to get that third position. It's a great charge out of the final corner.
Indeed.
Just came up about a tenth of a second short. But this is the big prize for Toby Sauer. He's certainly been looking and knocking on the door for that first race win. Doing a fantastic job leading here as we have reached, we're actually past the halfway point. 16 laps to go here at Portland International Raceway. This is the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires on the Advanced Auto Parts IndyCar Radio Network. My name's Nick Yeoman. Rob Howden is in the booth. Dan Ruzanowski is on pit lane. Two guys you hear out on the course calling the action, Michael Young and Dave First, as we're all gearing up for the Grand Prix of Portland for the NTT IndyCar Series a little bit later today. The gap for Sauer is at 1.54 seconds.
Wow.
So VK continues to inch his way closer and closer, Michael, out of turn 3.
Toby Sauer getting ready to tackle turn number 4. Last time by, I heard Rinus VK chirp those Cooper tires ever so slightly. So VK pushing. Sauer lets the car drift out of the exit of turn number 5. And boy, Rinus VK with just a great line. Both drivers' hands still in the cockpit, not really battling those cars at all. But Toby Sauer, what was once a 2.5 second lead, down to 1.5.
I tell you what, Toby Sauer, no prior experience here at Portland International, and that might be to his disadvantage now as he's having his mirrors full of Rinus VK. Norman third, Askew fourth, McGinnis fifth. Tell you what, Dalton Kellett might be making a play for a top 5. He's closing that gap into McGinnis.
Yeah, Sauer got a really nice charge down the back straightaway, but out of the final corner, it looks to be about 5 or 6 car lengths. It's a good eye by Dave First as Dalton Kellett has kind of picked it back up and is starting to run down Robert McGinnis at the line. It is 1.7 seconds, so I thought it looked a little bit bigger that time, Rob. Sauer, I think, got a nice run out of turn 7 and 8 down the back straightaway.
Here's another one for you. Oliver Askew within a second and a half of Ryan Norman now, so the push-to-pass activation will light up here for Oliver Askew to go to work on Ryan Norman. Guys, you can keep a look on that on the racetrack as Askew has been quicker by 0.3 of a second without the extra 50 horsepower.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive as he's still got the opportunity to use that push-to-pass 6 more times. Toby Sauer leads the field through turn at number 7 and 8. The gap over Rinus VK looks to be about 7 or 8 car lengths as VK continues to try to stalk our race leader with just 14 laps remaining here in this Indy Lights race presented by Cooper Tires. Ryan Norman runs in third. Norman has kind of lost these front 2 as he's fallen about 6.2 seconds back. But as Rob alluded to, Oliver Askew, our points leader, doing a little damage control, and he's starting to run down that third-place car.
The great thing about Toby Sauer is, too, we know the radio communication was coming in 1.7 back last time. He just reset fast lap of the race when he did that 103.7. Just did a 103.8. VK turns around as a 103.5.
And VK is now within 1.4 seconds. Here he comes, Michael, out of turn number 3.
Toby Sauer entering turn number 4. He hugs that inside line on those gator strips. You can see that gap now closing. Rinus VK smooth through the exit of turn number 5. There's Sauer, midpoint off of turn number 6. Right behind him, Rinus VK. Looked like VK got to the throttle a little late there, Dave First. That gaps him a little more for Toby Sauer.
No question, but that time Sauer goes a little wide at the exit of turn 7. Much better entrance and exit for Rinus VK. Now in the back straight, now possibly on the push to pass.
Yeah, those drivers just hammer that accelerator, and when they can, that push to pass button as well down the back straightaway as Sauer and VK make their way rocketing through turns 9, 10, and 11, where those cars are absolutely on edge, using up the curbing to the outside and the inside. Out of the final corner, still now 12 laps to go here at Portland as Rinus VK in that Soul Red Mazda car. Rob, let's talk a little bit about why that car is that color, as he has been a very, very tough driver to beat throughout the road to Indy.
Indeed, one of the amazing things about this road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires is the scholarship program. If you win a championship, you win a scholarship to move to the next level. USF 2000 champion wins over $300,000 to go to Indy Pro. Indy Pro champion wins over $700,000 to move up to the Indy Lights category. And, of course, our Indy Lights champion of 3 race series in the NTT IndyCar Series. Rinus VK likes this racetrack because last year he was able to win the championship here in the Indy Pro 2000. That gave him the scholarship to move up with Juncos Racing. The Soul Red colors from Mazda will not be run next year. Obviously, the Anderson Promotions crew taking care of the scholarship money this year after Mazda bid their adieu to the program. But regardless, whoever wins this championship is going IndyCar Racing next year.
And let's talk a little bit about those other 2 championships, as they've just got a few races to go as well.
It's up in the air for sure. In the USF 2000 category, Hunter McElroy in a fantastic fight right now with Braden Eves. I believe Eves with a 1-point lead still unofficially after Hunter McElroy won yesterday. And the guy that you've had in the booth here a couple of times, Kyle Kirkwood's on an unbelievable run right now. He's won 7 of the last Indy Pro 2000 races. He has taken the lead, I believe, from Rasmus Lint, but we got 2 more races after the IndyCar event today.
And we've got 2 great battles on the racetrack, Michael. The one for the lead and the one for the third in turn number 5.
Rinus VeeKay is coming, Nick Yeoman. It was down into turn number 3. I saw that gap close to about 5 car lengths. Right now, it opens back up to 7th, but even tighter. Ryan Norman swings a little wide in turn number 6. That allows Oliver Askew to close that down to 5.
You can't decide which battle to watch, the one for the lead or one for that final podium position involving the points leader in Oliver Askew. Askew now closing within about 4 car lengths of Ryan Norman.
We'll keep an eye on both of them. We're watching the battle for the lead, Rob, as Rinus VeeKay is right there. Call it 2 car lengths out of the final corner.
He's been using the push to pass sparingly. He hasn't been all over it. He had 12. He's used 3 so far since getting within the window. He'll use another one coming down the straightaway here. Let's see if we get a move coming down to turn number 1, Nick.
Just 10 laps to go here in Portland. VeeKay thought about it. He popped to the inside, then got right back in line as he'll follow the number 2 machine out of turn number 3. The battle for the lead is on.
And the battle for third on as well down into turn number 2. VeeKay has closed it down to about 3 car lengths. The leader, Toby Sowery, to the midpoint of turn number 5. VeeKay gets up on those gator strips. In the meantime, for third, Oliver Askew down to 2 car lengths, but the battle is for the lead. Rinus VeeKay's closed her down to 3.
This is as close as Rinus VeeKay has been since Sowery passed him on the opening couple of laps or so. Call it a car length and a half. Sowery over VeeKay. Meanwhile, further back, exit at turn 7. That gap pretty similar, although Askew makes a wide exit at turn 7. Lost a little bit of ground that time.
Battles all over the racetrack as Dalton Kellett is closed within a second of Robert McGinnis for 5th. But all attention is on that one for the lead. Out of the final corner, Rinus VeeKay stalking Toby Sowery. They'll both accelerate down the front straightaway. VeeKay is just a couple car lengths behind as they cross the start-finish line. He's got the horsepower. He's going to look to the outside. He'll try to take the long way around, but Sowery gets to the corner first. They get side by side, nose to tail exiting turn number 3. Sowery gaps him by about 2 car lengths as they head to 3. And then Oliver Askew, and it looks like Ryan Norman battling for third. Norman's going to have to go through the runoff area, so Michael, move Oliver Askew back into podium position.
All kinds of tire smoke back there at turn number 1, but Toby Sowery, that's our eyes on the leader. Rinus VeeKay trying to close that back in and sweep the weekend down to 3 car lengths, Dave.
Pretty defensive driving here as he has his mirrors full of that red, white, and black Soul Red Mazda machine of Rinus VeeKay. Meanwhile, further back, Oliver Askew, that was easier than he thought it would be. He's got that final podium position.
Well, he's moving to the 3rd spot, but that was very nearly a disaster, Rob, down into turn 1.
Yeah, he had used his final push to pass coming down the straightaway into turn number 1. The 2 Andretti drivers side by side, Askew and Norman, and it looked like they were both kind of locking the brakes up. They were trying to get the cars woed up. They weren't able to make the corner. That was a really interesting pass. I'm sure there'll be a discussion on that when they get back to the paddock.
So with Askew now in podium position, it's go time for Rinus VeeKay as he's got to get on the accelerator, and that's what he's doing, Michael. Just 2 car lengths out of turn 3.
He gained a lot of points early in this race when Oliver Askew fell back to 7th. He fell to 2nd. Now trying to get back to the top step of that podium. Sweep the weekend. Back end nearly steps out on Rinus VeeKay at the exit of turn number 5. He gathers it back up. Toby Sowery, 2 car lengths out of 6.
I know it's a cliche. One thing to catch up to the driver, another thing to pass him. I think that's exactly what's going on right now with the man second in points in Rinus VeeKay. About a car length and a half, make it 2 now at the entrance of turn number 8.
And Rob, Rinus isn't just trying to pass a guy for a win. He's trying to pass a guy who's going for his first career win. You know Toby Sowery is not going to give him an inch.
He's got his elbows up for sure, and Toby's a driver who's won a lot of races over his career as a man in his early 20s. Remember, Rinus VeeKay only 18 years of age, so a little different in the maturity, a little difference in the experience for sure. When you're trying to defend on a race win, one that you really want, not only for yourself, but for the team as well, that restructured team. John Comiskey, there's new people in here. Jeff Fickley, he wants to bring these guys a victory, and the elbows will be up and sharp for sure throughout the rest of this race.
7 laps to go out of turn number 3. Nice run for Toby Sowery. He gaps him by about 3 car lengths now, Michael, through 4.
Yeah, Rinus VeeKay breaks a little bit later to the entrance of turn number 4. Closes that gap back up, but Toby Sowery really smooth through 5 and 6. That allows Rinus VeeKay with just as equal an opportunity at the exit of 6. It looks like VeeKay could not get back on the throttle. Sowery's kind of extended to that lead, Dave.
I tell you, as Toby Sowery wore off those tires early on, things have settled down a little bit. That gap, though, is still the same, about 2 car lengths as they hit that right-handed bender in turn 8.
It's easy to watch that bright yellow car because you can see it from space, but the cameras have just been locked on it all weekend, Rob, whether it be the battle for third yesterday, now for a race win. Toby Sowery getting plenty of TV and radio time. There's no doubt about it. He's had a great weekend.
Very true, and he, again, running extremely well. It's interesting. I kind of thought that VK may have been in a position to make a pass. He just hasn't been able to pull the trigger yet. Remember, if he does go by, Toby Sowery's got the 15 push-to-pass activation still sitting there. He'll be able to go back on the attack, but right now, Arenas VK closes right up to within another length coming out of the Shelton chicane.
And VK just continues, Michael, to search all over the racetrack, right to left, left to right, trying to get around that bright yellow car of our leader.
Yeah, he does a good job breaking into turn number 4, I should say, out-breaking leader Toby Sowery. Sowery 2 car lengths, and VK is right there, almost on that rear wing of Toby Sowery. Sowery smooth out of the exit of turn 6. So too is Arenas VK. The battle, 3 car lengths into 7.
I would call it a car length and a half as they really bunched up at the entrance of 7, but Toby Sowery with a bitter exit at turn number 7. Still about 2.5 car lengths in turn 8.
Your race leader, Toby Sowery, trying to hang on for about 5.5 more laps to score his first career win in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Arenas VK is right there in second. Oliver Askew runs comfortably in third. Ryan Norman, after going through the runoff area in turns 1 and 2, has settled into the 4th spot. And Robert McGinnis has been holding on for dear life over Dalton Kellett. The battle for the lead, though, is on. VK moves to the inside. That car wiggles back and forth. It seems like everywhere he goes, Toby Sowery has that car planted. There's still nose to tail out of turn 3.
Somebody locked him up, Nick Yeoman, and I believe it was Toby Sowery. That allows Arenas VK to close back in. It's down to a car length. VK backs off ever so slightly. Now back on the charge to Toby Sowery. Entrance to turn number 6. It's a car length. Toby Sowery good off of turn 6. So too Arenas VK down to a car length.
Pressure is on for the 23-year-old Brit. Mirrors full of Arenas VK. Sowery goes a little wide that time, and that's going to make, it's going to allow Arenas VK to pick up another half car length or so. Pretty even as they head to turn 8.
Rob, this is fantastic stuff here with 4.5 laps to go.
And we're just watching Arenas VK throw everything he can. He's down to 3 push-to-pass activations. He's got to make it happen one of these times down the straightaway. Toby's made that car really wide. He's moved a bit to the inside of the racetrack, maybe a little bit back to the outside. Right now, it just seems like Arenas can't get enough speed coming out of turn number 12 to hold it down to turn 1.
I think Sowery's getting a nice charge off the corner, too, because as VK looks to the inside again, he's not able to get alongside. It's a big lockup again, though, for Sowery. So, Michael, our leader, is clearly feeling the pressure as VK is still right there.
And Toby Sowery using up those Cooper tires, needs it for just a couple of more laps, but he's been able to gap Arenas VK. A bigger lead for him this time through the apex of turn number 5. Now through the exit is Toby Sowery trying to find his first victory of the year. We thought he'd get it. Today might be the day, Dave First. 4 car lengths through 7.
Remember that splash he made on that season opening race at St. Petersburg, Florida. Now towards the end of the season, just as interesting. It's about 3 car lengths now at the exit and entrance of turn number 8.
Down the back straightaway, VK not close enough to get alongside, but we're going to watch this charge out of turns 10, 11, and 12. Can he get the horsepower and the run needed to use that push to pass to get alongside? The gap is about 2 car lengths as Sowery looks like he's going to swing it a little bit wider than VK. Across the start-finish line, there's going to be just 3 laps to go. And again, Toby Sowery has a nice enough gap at about 2 to 3 car lengths to keep Arenas VK at bay. VK follows them into the festival curves. It's 2 car lengths as they leave turn number 3.
Obviously not optimal to lock those Cooper tires up, but whatever Toby Sowery is doing, it's working. He's able to now gap Arenas VK by about 3 car lengths. Really touches the outside apex of that turn number 4, lets it come and drift back into turn number 5, now through turn number 6. A good advantage now, Toby Sowery really feeling comfortable with just a handful to go.
Good for Toby Sowery. He's had enough of these 2nd and 3rd place finishes here in 2019. He wants a win, and right now has about a 2.5 car length advantage over Arenas VK.
And Robbie's running out of time, and he needs to make this pass because in terms of the championship, if he wants any chance of going to win this at Laguna Seca, he's got to make the pass here.
And the thing is, he did not use a push to pass last time down the front straightaway, and in doing that, Toby was able to go quicker. A 103.8 for Toby, a 104 flat for Arenas VK. Arenas needs the push to pass. He's got to use that to be able to get by, and right now falling back even more, over a half a second last time by the stripe.
Yeah, 2 laps to go, and that lead has now grown to about 3 or 4 car lengths. VK uses the draft to close it to within about 2 car lengths through turn number 2, but Sowry so strong, Michael, exiting turn 3 as he builds that lead through turn 4.
Well, if Rinus is going to save him, he'll probably save him for that last lap down the front straightaway and then down the back straightaway. But Toby Sowry really doing a good job in this portion of the track. Smooth, both drivers' hands still in the cockpit, really working these turns. Toby Sowry, 4 car lengths through 7.
And no question, Toby Sowry's accepted this challenge from Rinus VK and has stood up to the man from the Netherlands. It's now but a 4 car length advantage. Toby Sowry, here he comes into turn number 9.
Robbie's on the button down the backstretch.
Indeed, this is it. He'll use one now. He'll use the next one coming down the front straightaway. He's got to roll as much speed as he can, pushing hard through 9, 10, and 11. He closes to within 3 car lengths coming out of turn number 12. You know the button's getting pushed once again. They'll get the car straight. He'll tap that button. Indeed, he does. 50 more horsepower. Here's the run down to 1.
Here they come. They'll see the white flag. Rinus VK charging. He'll move to the inside, goes back to the outside. He's hoping that Sowry will lock up the tires, but Sowry has that car planted right in the middle of the racetrack. Final lap, Michael. They're racing out of turn 3. It's just 2 car lengths.
We weren't sure if Toby Sowry was going to make the entire season. Now we're here, the second to last weekend of the year. Final time through turn number 5 and 6. Toby Sowry with a 2 car length advantage. A young man from Cambridge, England, may get his first victory this weekend in Portland.
Some heavy hitters have won here at Portland. Names like Paul Tracy, Greg Moore, James Hinchcliffe, Robert Wickens. About a 2 car length advantage. Is Toby Sowry the next name here to win at Portland, Nick?
He's got to hold on for just a couple more corners, and they may be the most difficult corners on the racetrack as Rinus VK is right there, about 3 car lengths behind. They shoot through turns 9. They'll do the swooping complex of 10, 11, and 12. VK's got a nice little run. He's going to close within a car length. Back out of the front straightaway. Toby Sowry trying to hang on. He'll move to the inside of the racetrack, and he'll score his first career win in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Toby Sowry wins the Cooper Tires Indy Lights Grand Prix presented by Allied Building Products as Rinus VK comes home in second. Oliver Askew will grab the final step on the podium. A big third-place finish for him, Rob, as now he'll just need to start the final 2 races in Laguna Seca to win the championship. But what a victory and a fantastic job by Toby Sowry to hang on.
You know, for Toby to be able to give this victory to this team, this HMD Motorsports, big restructuring. They've spent a lot of time going over those cars, essentially a full nut and bolt, tore them apart, put them all back together the way John Comiskey wanted them to, working again with Jeff Fickling. You think about the language, the dialogue back and forth between these drivers and their engineers. What a huge run. You could see when he came across the line, Toby Sowry pumping that fist. As Michael said, he wasn't. We didn't even have him on the radar before we came to the first race in St. Petersburg. He got into the car, I think, the Monday before for a shakedown. For him to be able to be where he is right now and word that potentially he could be back next year, this guy's going to be a championship contender. This team is going to be a championship contender in 2020.
He gets a salute from our points leader, Oliver Askew, down the back straightaway as Toby Sowry in that bright yellow gap guard car for HMD Motorsports will go to victory lane to score race win number 1. And for Oliver Askew, I mean, talk about damage control from a ripped off front wing where he falls to the rear of the field to come home with a podium. That is big, and that's the type of adversity that, quite honestly, he hasn't faced a lot of this year.
And we say that all the time, right? When you start on pole and pull away, you're really not battling anybody. You're not facing the adversity. You're not having to really find out who you are as a driver, especially at the higher level. For Oliver to be able to turn around and did what he did, work back, use the push to pass, and make it a really aggressive pass on his teammate for third. I think coming back, and as you said, he should have the amount of points now that he needs to essentially just have to start both the first races. If he gets a good run in the opening race of the doubleheader at Laguna Seca, he's going to be the champion.
Always cool to see a first-time winner in victory lane in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. That is Toby Sowry, as he has taken that car to the exit of pit lane where they stage the cars after the race. He's going to hop out of that car momentarily, and we will hear from our race winner. Here's how they finished today. Toby Sowry scores career win number 1 in the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. Rinus VK comes home in second. Rob, he gave a tremendous effort to try to get around him. Used those 2 push-to-passes with 1 lap to go, coming to the white flag. I think he kind of knew that you had to. I mean, you're not going to get a chance on the final lap out of the final corner of start-finish line comes up on you a little too quickly.
Yeah, it's not going to work. He did exactly what he needed to do. Got a great run down the back straightaway, closed, got that push-to-pass as soon as he got on the straightaway. Toby moved to the inside of the racetrack, and really, if it was maybe just for the championship, you might have saw Rinus go way to the inside and force the issue. But knowing it's not a championship run right now, get that second place finish and be happy with it.
So again, it's Sowry, VK, and Oliver Askew, your podium. Ryan Norman comes home in 4th. Robert McGinnis did hold off Dalton Kellett for 5th. We were kind of keeping that on the, in the corner of the eye as Kellett continued to run down Robert McGinnis. Problem, though, Rob, is did he just run out of push to pass?
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, he was putting tons of pressure on McGinnis. That's, of course, the Andretti driver and the Juncos driver battling it out. He looked inside a couple times and won. Just ran out of push to pass, and at that point, their lap times kind of fell off just a little bit.
So McGinnis comes home in 5th. Dalton Kellett finishes 6th. Lucas Cole comes home in 7th. David Malukas, the only driver that does not finish today's race. He was involved in a first lap accident, some contact with he and our points leader, Oliver Askew. Heavy suspension damage, ruining the day for David Malukas. What an up and down day for HMD Motorsports.
No doubt about that. You've got the hot and the cold of the whole thing. You got the winner with Toby Sowry. You got the guy at the very tail of the field after the issue. For me, the interesting thing was the fact that David Malukas, the amount of damage to his left front, or right front, how did it not damage Oliver Askew's left rear?
All right, we'll let you get out of here. We got an IndyCar race coming up, and we'll talk to you Laguna Seca for more lights coverage. That's Rob Howden doing a great job. Let's hear from our race winner, Toby Sowry, who is standing by with Dan Rusanowski.
Well, Toby, what a series of dramatic moments in the last 5 laps. Obviously, one of the biggest parts of learning to be a great race driver is holding off a good driver when he's trying to take the lead. But you managed your push to pass as well, and you had quite a battle, a couple lockups. But give us your thoughts about what was going on the circuit.
Hell for me. VK was really quick, and I could see him closing lap by lap from about lap 10. So I knew it was really important to keep these Cooper tyres in their window, not make too many mistakes, not too many lockups, and try and hold him off with the push to pass. You know, when you've got someone with that advantage behind it, it's quite tough, but I knew we had a better tyre, and we obviously, if he did get past, have the extra 15 push to passes to attack back. So it was held the last few laps because we really wanted this first win. I tried to get the guys the win for them. It's a fantastic result, and I'm just so happy for the guys.
As you mentioned, it's not only your first win, but in whatever variety you want to use for HMD Motorsports or Team Pelfrey, with John Kaminsky and also Jeff Fickling in there, you got to feel the love and the support.
Yeah, I'm over the moon for them. You know, it's not just my effort, it's all of those. I couldn't do the job without the car, so I'd like to dedicate this to them, and also Antoine Hubert as well for the sad event this weekend. But, you know, we've worked hard for this.
Congratulations, terrific job.
Thank you very much.